Okay, you guys, so today I'm going to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. This topic has to do with autism. One in four, 44 children are diagnosed with autism in the United States, and four boys are 4 times likely to have autism than girls are, and 1 in 100 children in the United States, in the world, have autism. So a lot of people really don't understand what autism is unless you have a child that's autistic or you've been around a person that's autistic. So some people don't know how to treat autistic children, or they just have a bad misconception of them. Autism has to deal with sensory issues, having social issues, being around a bunch of people, and it also has to do with delays. When I say delays, I don't mean delays in being slow. Their their mind is wired differently. So I'm going to go over 3 things that might can help you if your child is autistic, or if you just really don't know a lot about autistic children. So the first thing is what may cause autism. Some people might have this misconception that it's the parent's fault, or they did something wrong whenever they were pregnant. If you are a parent of autistic children, please do not think that it is your fault in any way. So a few things that can make your child autistic would be a low birth weight, if there is any mutations in genetics or any disorders of that sort. Also, if you're around an environment that has different toxins in it, it can also cause autism. A few things also that I've noted is that if a family member has autism, it's more hereditary for the child to be autistic also. So those are just a few things that can actually cause autism. Now, some symptoms that you can look for in a child that has autism are very distinct, and they show up sometimes when they're younger. You can catch them, but a lot of the times they have to be, around 3 or 4, and you can start seeing them more prevalent. So one of the things, symptoms that autistic children have are delayed in speech. My son is autistic, and his speech is very delayed. So around 1 year old, children usually can know like 6 to 10 words. And at 2 years old, they should be starting to do sentence structures and put in like 2 words together, like mama, food, or mama, hungry, or something like that. And then at the age of 3, children should start actually saying basic sentences. So my son right now probably knows about 5 words, and he actually does more signing than he does speaking, and that also has to deal with autism. So a lot of autistic children do have to have speech therapy in order for them to like kickstart their speech. So if my son is hungry, he'll say mama, and he'll point at his mouth, and that means that he's hungry. Or he'll also use different signs to say different things that he wants. Also, children with autism, they might color pictures and tell you that they want something also. So they're very visual learners. Another thing with autistic children is they don't make very good eye contact. They might lack empathy. And when I mean lack of empathy, it doesn't mean that they're not empathetic. What that means is they see the world in a different lens, and they think their position is the only position that they see. They can't see through the eyes of somebody else, and they take everything literal. So that can kind of be misconstrued at times. Also, a few things that I have down here is sensory issues. So my son is very sensitive to noises. They can be sensitive to noises, lights, colors, and textures, and taste. So if it's very noisy outside, or there's loud noises, or there's lights that are really bright, or certain colors might set them off. Also, they have texture issues, like if they touch something, it might not feel right, or if they eat something, it's just an issue. So a lot of people with autism have problems eating. Like my son he only eats certain things. So he might eat a popsicle 2 months straight, and that is it. Or he might just eat chicken nuggets, and that's it. And if he don't get that certain food, he just won't eat it all. So you have to kind of be careful and just experiment with different foods and textures to see what works best for your child. Because autistic children have really big issues with texture.
Huh.
Also, um, repetitive behaviors is probably the last thing I want to point out, which is because I can relate to this. My son, he has repetitive behaviors. Like if he wants to play, it's only with one thing. It's a ball, and he might do that 5 weeks in a row with the same ball over and over again. Or he might play with bubbles. That's the only thing he wants to do, and they'll do it in a repetitive pattern. So, um, so like it might kind of get like a little boring at times, but just know that that is just how your child operates in their mind, and they'll get over it. Like my son, he did bubbles for like a few weeks, and then it turned into balls, and he's been on that for a few months. So they kind of get into a repetitive stage. So this brings me to my last topic that I want to hit on, and that's some things that you can do with your children that have autism. So since autistic children are very repetitive, it is good to have a schedule for them and also for them to have strict like rules. You don't want to change the rules day by day, and you want to keep them on a schedule that is like their bedtime's 8 o'clock every day, or they eat a certain time every day, so they know what to expect and they don't get overwhelmed because the routine is consistent. So you also always want to try to be consistent with your child. Another thing that I wrote down that you can do is for their sensory issues, you can go buy some toys that helps like let them know what textures is, and they're visual learners. So um, like if they love words or something like that, this little magnet so they actually can see the letters helps them a lot. I had this little book, it's called Monsters, and what he can do is he can feel every single page and actually feel the texture, and that helps them um, with sensory delays that they might have, and it gets them familiar with just touching certain things that might trigger them. Another thing is, if your child is having a meltdown, make sure that you kind of be aware of what triggered that, so you know to alter whatever it was in the future, so they don't have further meltdowns because of their autism. And the last thing I probably want to point out, oh, also, is my son with his noises. You can use these if you go somewhere that is loud. You might want to try some headphones on them to block out some of the noises. That helps with my son also. Just be really sensitive to their sensory issues. Like we try to avoid carnivals and places with big crowds just so that my son can feel more comfortable. The last thing that I help with my son is this iPad thing that we got him. It helps him visually, and he can actually point and move things, and it helps him with his delays tremendously. So that was actually recommended to us also. So I hope that all these things I have told you helped you a little bit if you're a parent of an autistic child, and maybe this is new to you or you just really don't know much about autism. Hopefully this will give you a little bit more insight. And so that's it. Thank you.
I think I shut it off, did I? I hit it. Yeah, that's really hard to hold still for that long. Well, that was interesting. That was very interesting. I didn't realize that Cassius had been diagnosed as autistic.
Yeah, just at the lower spectrum
of
autism. So
okay. I knew you had suspected it maybe because of his language development.
yeah, it's not like they have like a
Right.
not like a level, like a little. I want to say like a chart, kind of like, but not really. Like if this was a chart, he's like way down here.
Yeah,
he's
that's
not.
good.
So he just has some small things like his speech is part of it. The noises, like if he goes outside, he can't. If the truck goes by, he's like, or a car, or any like sound. So he is supposed to go for a test at UAMS in like 6 months
Okay.
to see like the severity and stuff of it, and to actually have it where you can put down. Because like the doctor might say here that he is, but he actually has to have the official UMA test too.
Okay.
But
And that way they'll have it when he starts school.
Right.
So he can get whatever,
that he needs.
accommodation.
Yeah. But his isn't like bad at all. I just have, when he was little, actually, Keith was the first person to mention to me that he thought he might be autistic.
Really?
And the reason was, I think that when we turned on a fan or something like that, for the first time ever, he stared at it for like hours. And then Keith would just notice, I guess he started going online, and some of the things Cassius did, like he looked online and was like, this reminds me of Cassius, maybe he's autistic. I'm like, you are so dramatic. Like, you are so dramatic.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have thought too.
You know, because I'm like, he's just like so many months old, you can't figure that out
Nah.
at all. And, but
yeah.
so that was surprising to me, yeah. But he does really good. The only thing that I have a problem with is his weight. Now they have him on those boosts. Like, they did get him approved, and I have like 100. They gave me like 100 boost drinks for him at the WIC office.
And does he drink them?
No.
Oh, well, then that won't do any good.
No,
Can
they
you give
don't.
them back so they can give them
I'm
to somebody
hoping that
else?
they will. They're like, we'll just try it. So
If
this
not,
is the first month. So if not, I'm gonna donate them to the Fun and Learn Land.
Okay.
Because they said they have like lots of kids up there who have to take them.
Oh, okay.
And
How is his hip issue? Is that resolved?
no, he has to go now like once a year, and he will have to have surgery.
Okay.
So, but
When
it won't
do
be
they
till
think that?
4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a ways off. And so Keith's is gonna take off the whole however long. He's going to take off work until he recovers from that. He had already told them a long time ago that he was. But he's doing good as far as speech. He has picked up a bunch of words, but he wants to like sign more than talk.
Huh.
And I thought that was kind of interesting. But
Huh.
he has started to learn a lot of new words. I've noticed, like he can say truck now, and he'll like make noises, like if it's a train or or something, he'll go choo choo, or something like that.
Yeah.
He might not say the word, but I think he's making progress.
Yeah.
So yeah. But the only thing I have problems with him, like I said, is if he's hungry.
Yeah.
Like if he gets stuck on something like chicken nuggets. If he don't have chicken nuggets, he just will not eat. I mean, he won't eat for the whole 24 hours.
Wow.
At all.
I can't imagine that hunger wouldn't drive you,
Right.
Wow.
And because I think Keith, he used to be like, well, people always say, well, kids, when they're hungry, they'll eat. No. Autistic kids will not eat, even if they're hungry.
Wow.
I mean, they have texture issues. So, like, if he eats a popsicle, like, he was on a popsicle kick for a while. He just wanted popsicles.
Would he eat the good kind, like the fruit juicy ones? Made with real fruit juice, yeah.
So, but nothing else.
Oh, gosh.
Nothing else.
Oh, my gosh.
And so that's why he's only like 20. I'll tell you this, Tatiana's a few pounds less than Cassius.
Oh, wow.
And she's a year and some months apart from him. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good gracious.
And so it's like such a struggle. I think that's the hardest thing is trying to get him to eat.
Sounds like it. Wow.
So, yeah.
I had one little girl that I remember that was autistic. I'm sure I probably had some others, but they, earlier when I first started teaching, autism was not even a recognized disability by the state of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but anyway, this little girl, I'm trying to think what her name was, but they had moved in her 5th grade year from Oregon, and her mother was concerned because I think at that point there still wasn't any particular accommodations for that. And we talked, and she was a little bit sensitive, like you said, to loud noises and things, but she did great.
Yeah.
I had a peer helper when she needed a little extra help on instruction, and she ended up being in the band, so I guess she got over the loud noise thing. She played the tuba,
Oh, Lord.
of all things, and she ended up graduating with honors,
Yeah.
And
I guess like a lot of people think autistic people are slow, but really they are smart in certain areas.
yeah.
Like some autistic kids, like I just seen this on TV last week, and I had to show Keith that there's this guy, this carpenter guy, and he shampooed people's carpets, but he knew 27 languages.
I saw that.
Did you see that? And they think, well, after he was older, they suspect it was because of autism.
Yeah.
And so I had to show Keith that, because I'm like, see, they're just, in different areas.
Yeah, and they process things
Right.
differently.
So,
Yeah.
and a lot of autistic kids are good with words, I don't know. I've seen a bunch of stuff on TV where they're really fast about learning how to spell and stuff like that with words. So it just depends on the child, I guess.
I guess.
So,
Wow.
I don't know, but I'm just glad it's not the far
Yeah.
end.
Yeah,
You
no
know,
kidding.
so.
I just recently read a book, and that she never, the whole time in the book, identified the main character as autistic, but she obviously was, and it was told from her point of view.
Oh.
It was called The Maid. I got it from the library.
Okay, I've heard that, and people keep telling me, but I've never read
It
it.
is really good.
And I think they have a movie.
Oh, it'd make a great movie.
I'm pretty sure there's a movie out.
Okay.
That's with the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they just recently got it at the library. It's a pretty new book. If they made a movie, the book just was out in 22. So it could
it is?
be. You may
Okay.
be thinking of another.
Maybe.
There's one called The Handmaid that I think maybe they make a movie out of. So
Is the character black?
no,
She's not.
Mm-mm.
I think this one is, but
it may be something different.
maybe something
Yeah,
different.
But parts of it are funny. But she ends up being the kind of the hero of the hour of the thing. She's a maid in a hotel, and she loves to clean. I mean, it's just a perfect job.
Right,
for her.
right.
Yeah. She talk about routine,
Yeah.
But yeah, she stumbles into a bunch of stuff and doesn't realize she's getting into some drug stuff.
Oh.
She thinks she's just doing favors
Right,
for these
right.
real nice people that
Right,
need her help, you
right.
know. And anyway,
Oh,
yeah,
that sounds like a good book.
it really is. When she gets arrested, of course, she doesn't have a clue what's going on, and her grandmother has died by this point, and so she's by herself. She's supposed to be in her 30s, maybe early 30s. But the doorman at this fancy hotel where she works always looks out for her. And when she gets arrested, his daughter is an attorney, and so she comes to her aid. And anyway, it's good.
So I'm really dreading having to transcript this because it was only supposed to be 5 minutes and it's 9 minutes, and I have to.
You mean you have to write it all out?
Yes.
Yee, yipes.
Yeah, so after I did the outline and then the essay, then you have to go submit the video, and then you got to do a transcript of the video on every single word that you said and submit that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, at that one point when I went, I thought, I better pick that up. But I guess that won't hurt anything.
No, I won't hurt it.
Do you need to look and make sure it got it?
Well, I seen it said 9 minutes, so I'm